Very distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I have the pleasure of welcoming you to the House of Lords. But I have to say that this topic that we are discussing, preventing violent extremism, and the stories that surround this government agenda are very serious. So normally I would probably start with a little joke or just remind you what the House of Lords does, but I'm not going to do that. Just today, I will first of all thank Cordoba Foundation, Anas Tipriti and all his team for getting us all together here. It's very important that we first of all understand where violent extremism comes from, what the government has been doing over the last 10 years, and where we stand before we start to talk about the agenda. And I can tell you my own credentials. In 2001, before 9/11, I wrote to Jack Straw as the Home Secretary and said to him that the British Muslim community in general, because I don't represent the entire British Muslim community, but in general wanted to see extremists, those who were standing outside mosques and people like Omar Bakri and Abu Hamza and others who were challenging our national security, dividing our communities, causing problems, need to be dealt with within law and they need to be sorted out. I have a 2-page letter in my office for anyone ever to come and talk to me, and I could show them and give them the copy where he was humming and hawing and didn't want to deal with it and wanted to sort of deal with it in different ways, etc., etc. So what I'm saying is that those of us who have been critical of the PVE agenda, we are right at the forefront of preventing violent extremism. We want to do something about those abhorrent and despicable, whatever you want to say, those people who challenge our national security, who threaten the innocent people, who want to kill and maim innocent civilians anywhere, whoever they are. However, what we've seen since 7/7 is that when you have the government departments asking university lecturers to spy on their students, and you remember the famous quotes from the university lecturers and professors who turned the request down, and they said that they weren't going to spy on their students. The college, I know, I've seen the documents, the college lecturers and school teachers and head teachers were asked to do the same thing. And I know that when I was in Bradford last week, the former president of Hanfia Mosque in Bradford actually approached me and he said, Lord Ahmed, you know, this PVE money is dividing our communities. The PVE money is dividing our communities because there are people who are asked to spy on others, and this has become an industry. An industry where people have made up some of the stories about the Deobandis and the Hadiths, this mosque, the other mosque, and so this is actually making the whole. And then when you see, and I want to pay tribute to Aaron actually, because, and with round of applause you can say thank you to him as well, because I think that this man has been very brave, because what I felt and I wanted to say, I couldn't actually write down like he did, and what he wrote has obviously provoked reaction, and then that's why there is debate. But when you have, what I can't understand is that when the Home Office, the Metropolitan Police and the government is relying on Center for Social Cohesion, Policy Exchange, Middle East Forum, Quilliam Foundation and organizations like that, and they don't want to speak to maybe possibly even members of the House of Lords like me, because I may not agree with them, and I don't agree with them 100%. And then when I have the producers of Panorama who come to me and say, Lord Ahmed, how do you feel when the military intelligence are working with Muslim youth in Britain? And then I'm shocked. And I said, do you have any evidence? They said, we have recording. from the military intelligence. Now, as far as I'm concerned, I have no problem with the police working with British Muslim youth. I have no problem with the Metropolitan Police or police forces in Britain, because that's their job and they should be doing that. But I do have a problem when the Foreign Office has a unit to engage with Muslims in Britain and not the Home Office, and when the Army Intelligence Unit is dealing with the Muslims' intelligence within Britain and not vice versa. I ask all these questions. Then it's no wonder when you have Ed Hussein, Charles Moore, Dean Godseth, and good politicians like Michael Gove and Daniel Pipes, who are advising and leading this debate. So I think this is a very interesting time, because it's time that we stood up and said, if you are going to go down this route, then I'm sorry, we are against violent extremism. We are against any terrorism and organizations, and we've been more vocal than anyone else. And even at the Peace and Unity conference, when there were extremists stood outside the conference, I was the first one to write to the Home Secretary and say there were youth standing out there who, to me, posed a danger, and this needs to be something done about it. I don't know whether anything was done or not. But the point I'm making is, when people like us who write and who criticize and who challenge some of these extremists, and then you have others who actually have created this industry because they get very good grants, thank you very much. And they created a lot of this hysteria within the government departments, then it worries me. Because we are not only wasting resources, it worries me that we are dividing communities for a particular purpose. So I think it's a great day here in the House of Lords that we are going to have a very open debate. And for this purpose, I'm going to hand you over to Anastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lord Ahmed. My sincere apologies. He was, from the protocol aspect, he should have spoken first, but I overstepped my mark, so my apologies to you and to him. But once again, thank you very much, everyone, for coming to this event. And if I may just say a few words, because there are people around this table who have things to say about this particular issue, far more important and relevant than anything that I have. But just to outline a few admin aspects, first of all, regarding the Cordoba Foundation and why it is relevant to our work. This particular discussion is held here and in the manner and fashion that it is. The Cordoba Foundation, potentially, as do many other organizations of its like, the oxygen that we breathe, what we thrive on, is the fact that there is that possibility to prove that a clash of cultures, ideas and civilizations is neither necessary nor is it actually pertinent or something that is inevitable. It's something that we have proven in our recent history here in Europe, that people of all faiths, of all cultures, of all ideas, of all races, of all ethnicities have come together and not only coexisted peacefully, I hate the word tolerate, not only existed peacefully, but actually created some of the most magnificent human civilizations and times and inventions and such possible. And that is what we need to look at. Now, in light of the revelations in the Institute of Race Relations report, as well as the Guardian's articles a few days ago, basically this oxygen is sapped away. This sense of goodwill, this element that we thrive on in order to bring people to that table of negotiation and discussion, that ceases to exist, and that is something that we can ill afford as a society, as well as obviously as organizations that work in the arena of dialogue, discussion, debate and the such. Basically today what we want to do is to hear from both the author of the report as well as I will introduce Phyllis Starkey, who's the chair of the the Communities and Local Government Select Committee, as to where we stand in respect to this particular issue, and also from experts in the field of counter-extremism, counter-radicalization, of dialogue, and from the Muslim community also, to hear their take, both on the findings of the report as well as the strategy itself, because it has been a point of discussion and bone of contention, as Lord Ahmed has mentioned and outlined quite elegantly.